Hello, I'm Catherine Welsh and I'm the missing member of the EFL team. Welcome to my talk about future technologies. Unfortunately, I can't be with you in person today, so thought I'd make use of some existing technologies and create this short video instead. Back in 2012, at the second Enhancing Fieldwork Showcase event at FSC Preston Montford, the team ran a horizon scanning exercise, the aim of which was to identify novel and existing technologies that we thought may prove beneficial in fieldwork teaching practice. We asked each group to think about three categories: incremental advances in existing technology, applications of existing technology that are applied for new uses, and finally, visionary or novel futuristic technologies. We thought it would be useful to reflect on the results of that session and consider how many of these technologies have come to fruition. At the end of this short video, we will run the horizon scanning exercise again with our current cohort to look at future technologies which may be used for fieldwork and teaching and learning activities. So, participants were asked to reflect on incremental advances in existing technology. And the most frequent answer given by participants was this idea of an all-in-one app that would undertake multiple tasks. So rather than having different apps with different functions separately, there would be a field trip app which could do everything within it. And to some extent, this is actually a really difficult app to write because everybody wants something different, everybody wants different things within that app. So actually being able to write an app that encompasses everything that everybody would like to do in the field would be really tricky. However, there were some developments made, such as Field Trip GB, which is now Field Trip Open, which you can develop your own fieldwork app from. And other apps like Collector app, they kind of go some way to trying to do multiple things within one app and being more applicable to fieldwork. Participants also thought that there would be increased compatibility of apps across platforms. So apps would be available on iOS and Android rather than just one or the other. And largely this has happened. Most of the major apps that you would use are now available in some form on iOS or for Android. So that is something that has actually happened. Additionally, practitioners tend to design exercises which allow students to decide which app is most suitable for them. So the exercise tends not to be focused generally around one particular app. It's much more flexible, so students can decide which app is most suitable for the exercise. One of the great answers was that Apple would bring out a USB port for the iPad. Well, we're still technically waiting for that, but others within the group suggested that cloud technology would become more important in the future, which to some degree negates the need potentially for a USB port on the iPads unless you want to plug other hardware in rather than just a storage device. Participants hope to see a forum for sharing technology in practice, which we very much hope is where you are today, the EFL Showcase event. We are not technologists, we are practitioners who work in fieldwork environments, coming together and sharing practice. Secondly, participants were asked to think about how existing technologies could be applied for new uses. After a wonderful talk from Richard Spalding from UWE, participants liked the idea of the iBike, which would fuse mobile devices and push bikes together. The idea was that the mobile device would automatically record spatial data such as temperature, land use, biodiversity, as the user rode the bike, which does sound like a lot of fun. Despite Venezuelan designer Juan Pablo Zamora actually designing what he termed to be the iBike, the technology we had envisaged at the EFL Showcase was lacking and his design was actually still just a push bike. Therefore, we're going to have to wait patiently to see the iBike be developed for future use in fieldwork environments. Participants also suggested that mobile devices themselves could become the data loggers, and over the years we've seen Brian demonstrate a number of plugins for mobile devices. We've also seen developments in Bluetooth sensors which wirelessly feed data back to the mobile device, making it more convenient for use in field work. So this is a technology that has developed and will continue to develop. Augmented reality was another suggestion and is certainly a technology that is increasing and becoming more prevalent and well developed and is very well suited to fieldwork. Live streaming from the field was a further suggestion, and as you've hopefully experienced live casts yourself during the showcase event, it is evident that this technology has indeed been developed. 3D printing was the final suggestion from the group back in 2012, and as you've seen, technology has developed sufficiently so that 3D printed landscapes can be made relatively easily to enhance fieldwork teaching. Finally, participants were asked to think about completely novel or futuristic ideas that they would like to see. 3D projections of landscapes to show changes from a mobile device was the top futuristic suggestion by participants. Their idea was essentially a hologram to project from the mobile device to demonstrate landscape changes in sort of a virtual or augmented reality type way. In the way that the participants described it, as far as I'm aware, I don't think that technology exists in a meaningful way for fieldwork, but with augmented and virtual realities, that kind of thing is probably only a matter of time. Hot on the heels of the iBike, the iWelly was a very popular suggestion, and participants even developed its own advertising slogan, "Treading intelligently on the earth." The idea was that the shoe would collect information about the earth such as rock type, soil type, moisture, vegetation cover, land use, etc. Though as yet undeveloped, there has been a huge rise in smart wearable technologies, and smart trainers such as these have been developed for athletes, whereby you can control the temperature of the shoe via your mobile device. So I do live in hope that one day smart shoes for fieldwork will be developed. Improved wireless connections everywhere was one of the key hopes for the future, so that if students were trekking through the jungle or at the top of a mountain, or indeed even just in some rural parts of the UK, they could still have good internet access. Though wireless technology and connections and 4G is much more widespread in the UK than 6 years ago, there are still some areas of the UK which are very poorly connected, and many rural homes and businesses that still don't even have sufficient wired broadband, never mind wireless. Both in the UK and elsewhere, there is still a long way to go before wireless connections are everywhere. And finally, the James Bond of fieldwork tech, the E-Quadrat with X-ray vision, was envisaged by participants back in 2012. This is an electronic quadrat that can identify species within it automatically. Whilst that exact technology does not exist as far as we know, apps such as iSpot, which use citizen science to help other members of the community identify wildlife. So although it's not being done automatically, there is a smart element to it where you can contact somebody else or a lot of different people and quickly be able to identify your species. Also, smart agriculture is on the increase, so researchers at Rothamsted are trying to use technologies to try to identify areas of fields which are infested by aphid infestations and ensuring only those sections of fields are sprayed with insecticides rather than the entire field. So using technology to make agriculture smarter. However, at the rate which artificial intelligence is advancing, I really wouldn't be surprised to see the E-Quadrat with X-ray vision in the future. So as you can see, the EFL participants from 2012 were quite accurate and quite creative in predicting future technologies which could be used for fieldwork. Now I'm going to hand over to my wonderful colleagues who will run the rest of the Horizon Scanning workshop with you, and I look forward to hearing your ideas from this year's session. Thank you very much for listening.